Before we get started on the Dharma talk, please join me in invoking the Buddha's name 3 times. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Dear Venerable Abbot, dear Sangha, good afternoon. So today we're on chapter 19 of the Lotus Sutra, the chapter titled Benefits of the Teacher of the Law. So as we mentioned last time I gave a Dharma talk, chapters 17, 18, and 19 describe the merits and virtues of those that read, write, recite, and propagate the Lotus Sutra. So in this chapter 19, it's specifically mentioning the teachers of the law, basically the Dharma teachers, the teachers that teach the Dharma. So it's a chapter full of intrigue and kind of full of mystery and profound capabilities or abilities that one attains when having the attainments of penetrating and realizing the Lotus Sutra. But this chapter, and specifically, focuses on the virtues and the benefits that are accrued by those who uphold and teach the Lotus Sutra. It highlights the profound spiritual and practical benefits that come from embracing and spreading the teachings of the Sutra. So in this chapter specifically, it goes over the attainments that the Dharma teachers, or the preachers of the law, attain. So this chapter is more or less about the perfection of our senses, and that when we realize or have come into a type of realization on the path, right, that our senses naturally become heightened. So that's pretty much the central theme of this chapter. It's about the concept of sensory perfection. So those who uphold the sutra are said to develop extraordinary abilities, such as the ability to detect and understand various scents, which symbolize a deep intuitive awareness of the world and the beings within it. So this chapter also emphasizes the transformative power of the Lotus Sutra, and it describes how practitioners can attain a heightened sense of awareness and spiritual insight that leads to the perfection of their senses, and the ability to see and understand the world in a profound and compassionate way. So this includes, of course, being able to perceive the suffering and the needs of others, and be able to respond appropriately to their suffering with compassion and wisdom. And so as we read through the entire sutra, in every chapter of the sutra, we will see over and over again the importance of perfecting our practice, because the only way that we're going to be able to not just help ourselves and help others, but to be able to fully comprehend, understand, and gain insight into the true nature of reality. That is the way that we're going to escape our suffering, is the ability to see through this illusion that we call life, and to penetrate that delusion and to kind of surpass that or go beyond that. So in this chapter, it's recognizing, or the Buddha is saying that if good men and good women uphold the Lotus Sutra, whether reading it, reciting, or explaining it to others, or write it out, they will attain myriad of virtues and merits. And so in Buddhism, when we read sutras and we get to the lines where it says of good men and women, and we'll see that almost in every major sutra. And so good men and good women, and not just literally means people who are good, but in Buddhism it's referring to those that have taken precepts. So whether you're a Shravaka or you're the Upasaka or Upasika, male or female practitioner, lay practitioner, taking the 5 precepts, or those who have taken the Bodhisattva precepts, or monks and nuns that have taken monastic precepts. Those are the good men and women that are mentioned in the Lotus Sutra that read, recite, write out, and propagate the Lotus Sutra. And so there's really, this chapter is kind of the conclusion to the previous 2 chapters, because there's not really much teaching necessarily in this chapter. It's more or less describing how each of the senses, or 5 senses, in this case 6 senses, including the mind, is perfected. And it goes through this list of for each organ, right? So for I think the first one's the nose, I think. And it describes all different sense that one is able to hear, or sense. So we're able to sense sense that are far away, or the sense that are in heaven, the sense in the earth and the hells, and we're able to ascertain who and what and where these beings are from. Likewise with our ears, we're able to hear things that are beyond what we would normally hear. We're able to see things beyond what we're able to see. We're able to feel things beyond what we're able to feel. We're able to comprehend things beyond what we're able to comprehend. These are kind of natural phenomena that happen when we start to develop really deep meditative practices. And so when we have a pretty solid, disciplined, nearly perfect meditation practice, and we're able to attain those deep states of consciousness, more specifically the jhanas and the dhyanas, we're able to, or your mind starts to develop a really heightened sense of awareness. And so we can ask, well, what does that even mean? Well, it means a lot of things. But more importantly, it means that we're able to very specifically focus our attention without the distractions of the senses. Meaning that with the perfected meditation practice, we're able to sit in the middle of a concert and be able to meditate and block out the sounds that are around us. We can be in the midst of a war, and we're able to meditate and block out the sounds and the feelings and the senses and everything around us. We can be sitting in the top of Mount Fuji or something, freezing, but with a deep meditation, you're able to visualize yourself on a nice warm beach and not freeze to death. So there's a lot of things that kind of happen with a deep meditation practice. On the other hand of that, not only are you able to let go of the senses so that they do not distract you, but you can also kind of shift gears and be able to really deeply sense things more specifically. So, an example of Abel, for instance. I don't know how deep he goes in meditation, but when I'm in meditation, I specifically want to get in the zone where I can block out all sounds, so I can ignore sounds. That's my deep meditation. But then Abel comes along, he's like, well, I'm meditating. I can hear, he hears noises. He's like, there's something trying to dig itself out of hell, and I can hear it from the ground, like it's coming up. Or there's hear voices or things moving. Well, that could be the other side of a deep meditation. You're able to hear and sense those things that are beyond the normal sense abilities. So maybe it's a deep meditation. Maybe that's a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing. So he's inviting the sounds, he's inviting the senses, where I'm pushing it away. So we have 2 kind of opposites of how I would meditate, but either way, those are the powers of meditation. But that's essentially the kind of idea is, or kind of the goal of meditation is to be able to attain that sense of calm, attain that sense of perfect concentration, of samadhi, right? One pointedness concentration, meaning that you can be anywhere, in any circumstance, in any situation, and be able to meditate without the hindrances of distractions. Again, you can sit in the middle of a concert, which is one of the loudest things or activities you can be in, and be able to block that out and not hear a single thing. That's, if you're able to get to that point, then you can check that off your to-do list and say, I got this. But that's essentially what this chapter is saying, is that you can attain these types of spiritual benefits, sometimes also called spiritual powers, when we deeply recognize and penetrate the teachings, especially in the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra has dozens of different types of teachings. The bottom line of the Lotus Sutra is teaching us that we all have the ability and the capability of attaining Buddhahood, the ultimate perfect enlightenment, state of enlightenment, anuttara samyak sambodhi. And in order to get to that point, right, which is all the other chapters of the Lotus, well, how do we get to that point? So each chapter is describing those different abilities, those different teachings that we need to follow through. So it describes to us how we have to penetrate, realize the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path. We also have to realize the 12 links of dependent origination, pratitya samutpada. We also have to penetrate the 6 perfections of the Bodhisattva. We also have to penetrate the 37 factors of enlightenment to attain Buddhahood. So it's giving us that roadmap. It's giving us that list of what we need to practice and what we need to attain and how we attain it. We cannot simply just read something and know it at face value. If you just read the sutra, especially if you're reading at face value one time, it's going to read like a storybook. It's going to read like a mythical lore, essentially. There's a lot of mention of supernatural beings and abilities and different worlds and dragons and spirits and yakshas and gandharvas, asuras, kimnaras, mahoragas, etc., etc. All these human and non-human beings. So when we read it at face value for the first time, we're going to be like, what even is this? Like, how is this a religious text? But that's our ignorance talking. That's your ignorance talking. The reason why we cannot read something at face value and pretend like we can understand it is because of this exact reason. Because when you read something for the very first time, especially a sutra, a discourse, that, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, it's going to include a lot of those mythical beings and non-beings, humans and non-human beings. But that's not saying that these things or beings exist. That's not what it's saying, that these are out there. It's saying that all these beings, all these humans and non-human beings, all these different types of worlds and classifications and heavens and hells, all these are simply different characteristics and states of mind that we all go through. So it's saying in the assembly of 25,000 beings, there's humans and non-humans, dragons, asuras, mahoragas, garudas, kimnaras, yakshas, gandharvas, etc., etc. All these beings are what? They're not physically here. Because even the Lotus Sutra is saying every time we recite the Lotus Sutra, all these beings, upon hearing the Lotus Sutra, will ascend down and become part of the assembly and chant along. Well, do we see these beings come here and chant along with us? No. So it's not talking about these things and beings literally. It's saying that in the assembly, when we chant, when we read, recite, chant, and propagate the Lotus Sutra, all these types of humans and non-human beings, aka the characteristics, the abilities that we all go through, the mind states, the states of mind that we go through, All these are current, meaning that when you sit and read and recite or write out or propagate the Lotus Sutra, your mind's going to go through different types of understandings, different moods, different types of preaching. You're not going to sit static and not think of anything except for one thing, right? No, your mind's going to go through things. You may get upset, you may get angry, you may get happy, you may get excited, you may get jealous. All these different states of mind, all these emotions, all these feelings, this is what all those beings represent. So some of these beings, like the Yakshas and Gandharvas and Asuras, all these are beings that are kind of off-putting, scary looking. They look like kind of demonic beings. But these are just the negative states of mind that we go through. Anger, hatred, jealousy, ignorance, delusion, right? All these things are states of mind that we go through all the time. Especially in Buddhism when we talk about the 6 realms of existence, right? There's the 3 higher realms and the 3 lower realms. You can think of these places as actual physical places if you want to, or more practically, you can think of these are the states of mind that we all go through on a daily basis. Right? What are the 6 realms of existence? Pop quiz. And there's 6, I'm mentioning 1. Okay, and? Missing 2 more. What are we missing? I mentioned hell, hungry ghosts, animals, humans, and what else? Suras and Devas. So Suras, Devas, and humans are considered the 3 higher realms of existence, whereas animals, hells, and spirits are the lower realms. Now, of course, there are such things as animals, clearly, right? But when we think of the characteristic of an animal, what do we think? What is the character? What is the type of being an animal is? What else do they do? What else do they do? Or act? Primal. Defensive. Territorial. Right? So these are these are characteristics of animals, but these are also characteristics of people. Are people not also territorial? Are they also not primal? Are they also not trying to survive? Are they also not trying to kill others in order to get what they want? Meaning throwing people under the bus, deceiving them, lying to them to get what they want. These are things people act like too. So all these different realms of existence may not just mean physical realms, but these are the characteristics that we all go through on a daily basis. So every day, I mean, we're clearly human, but we also go through our days are kind of up and down, right? Not every day is a consistent day. Not every moment is a consistent moment, meaning that you're not always happy 24/7, but you're also not angry or upset 24/7 either, right? Your emotions go up and down. They change with causes and conditions and circumstances and situations. So we can't say that we're only feeling a certain way all the time. Someone may upset you, but how long are you going to get upset for? How long does that last? Maybe a few minutes, maybe a couple of hours, maybe the entire day, maybe a couple of days, but eventually you get over it. Yes? Likewise, even when we're happy, when you get excited about something new, how long are you excited for? I use the example of a new car all the time because it's the funniest and most appropriate for everybody. You get a new car, you treat it like it's your baby. You're cleaning it, you dust everything, you're always shining it up, you're always taking care of it, you're picking up every little lint and every little hair and every little speck of dust. And you do that maybe for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, but after a while, it looks like you live in your car. So where was that excitement for that new car that you had in the beginning? Where is all that care that you gave to it at the beginning? It doesn't last. And so the feelings that we have, the sensations that we have, the emotions, and everything else we go through in everyday life fluctuates. And so where was I going with this? Why did I even bring this in the first place? I forgot. Oh, the assembly. So all these feelings and emotions and the things that we go through, these are all the plethora of beings that we read about in the sutras. They're all just states of mind. But it's telling you, the Buddha tells you, even though we go through all these states of mind, we go through all these negatives and positives, these wholesome opportunities and unwholesome opportunities, all these are temporary. And the only thing that is permanent is Buddhahood, full, complete enlightenment of Anuttara Samaya Sambodhi. And the way to achieve that is to diligently practice, is to read, recite, write, and propagate the Lotus Sutra. In almost every major or big sutra, that's always a common theme. It's for the practitioners to read, recite, write, and teach the sutra. We see that in the Diamond Sutra. We see that in the Avatamsaka Sutra. We see that in the Sutra, Shangama Sutra. Many sutras mention to do that. And we can also think of it, why? Why would you want to read, recite, and write the Lotus Sutra, or any sutra? Why would you write something out? Why would you write something down, I guess? Think of school. When you go to school, do you not take notes? Unless you have a photographic memory, everybody takes notes, right? Why do we take notes? What is the point of writing something down that we hear? To remember it, right? So likewise, even though you may recite or read the Lotus Sutra, and we chant it every week, and for monastics, we chant it every day, right? But that's just one part of reading it. Why do we read it every single day? So if we read the Lotus Sutra, if we read, let's say, one chapter a day, and there's 28 chapters in the Lotus Sutra, and you can finish the entire book in 1 month. And so in a whole year, you've only read it 12 times. But imagine you reading it for the rest of your life. That could be reading it hundreds or thousands of times. Because every time you read something, even regardless of how many times you've read it, if you truly read with your whole being and put in your full attention to it, you're going to learn and read something new. You're going to be able to attain something you haven't attained before. You may have read it 1,000 times, but maybe in that 1,001 time, you truly penetrated its meaning and you have that aha moment. And same thing when you write it down, because when you write it down, not only are you reading it, but as you're writing it down, most of the time when you're writing something down, you're also thinking about it, no? And so that allows you to kind of to contemplate what you're reading and what you're writing. So not only do you have the benefit of reading, but you have the benefit of writing and comprehending. And then when you're chanting it, you can absorb more insight, more wisdom, attain more insight, attain more wisdom, and then finally be able to teach it. That's kind of the conclusion of this chapter, is by reading, reciting, and writing out, you can attain and penetrate the deep, correct meaning of the sutra in order to teach it to others. Okay, I'll stop talking now. This is even though this is a kind of a long chapter, but it's on a very It's long on purpose because it describes all the benefits and qualities that we attain through each of the 6 senses. And so there's like 3-4 pages for the nose, 3-4 pages for the mouth and ears and all this other stuff. So it's a pretty long sutra to describe all the benefits that we attain. But the moral of the story is that by gaining insight and wisdom through the Lotus Sutra, that we can attain abilities that are beyond our normal comprehension and be able to help others to understand and attain that same comprehension, and kind of have that domino effect, allowing them to attain and comprehend and teach. The people that they teach are able to comprehend, learn, and teach as well. And it goes on and on and on. Okay. Questions, concerns, emotional outbursts? Yes.
When you talk about the 6 realms of existence, you say that every realm has its characteristics. So like the lower realms all have these characteristics, but the heavenly ones have characteristics too. But then one of those 6 is the human realm. So what exactly are the characteristics of that?
Being born. No, literally, being born. Being born as a human it's the only realm that we have the ability and capability to find, learn, and practice the Dharma. And then we can think of the lower realms as, in the practical sense, of people who are in places where they are not able to come in contact with the Dharma. And the higher realms can be people who have the ability or have the circumstances to meet the Dharma but don't. Right? And so, for instance, the Asuras, right, the 5th realm of existence, are beings that are wealthy, powerful, but also terrible people, right? They have enough good karma in past lives that they have a pretty fortunate current life, but their mind is what's the word I'm looking for? Selfish. Just think of someone that is, imagine someone who is a billionaire, but being a billionaire isn't enough. They want to be a trillionaire. They want to be a gazillionaire. They want to be able to own the world, the planets, space, the universe, right? Nothing's enough for them. They constantly want more and more and more, and they'll do anything to attain it. They'll throw people on a bus. They'll blackmail you. They'll buy out something in order to attain something else, right? So these are fortunate people with unfortunate circumstances of how they do things, essentially, right? They're not giving. They are selfish. They attain. They want more power. They want more money. They want more influence. Whereas the highest realm of existence, devas, are also people who have fortunate circumstances, but are the opposite type of characteristic. They are giving. They do provide charity work. They are helpful and ambitious with their fortune, right? They're not stingy. They don't want to hold on to it. They realize that they have good circumstances and good fortune, but they don't hold on to it. They're willing to give it, right? To me, I can't think of her name, but Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, I can't remember her name. What's her name? But we know what I'm talking about, right? She got half of Bezos' money, and I always see her in the news giving like billions and millions of dollars to charity. Like, she doesn't keep her money. She willingly gives it out. She doesn't need it. She doesn't want it. So that, to me, is a characteristic of a deva. To me, she's a deva. But that's essentially it. So being human is just being able to be born in the middle, and then according to your circumstances and causes, you can either go one way or the other. But being human is kind of the starting point. And regardless of where we are, even if you are born in a, let's say, an unfortunate circumstance, maybe in a kind of impoverished place or low income place, right? There's always ways to kind of escape that. Whether you're in a bad environment or bad community or whatever, eventually, a lot of people may assume that they're kind of stuck there, that they have no way of getting out of the unfortunate circumstances. But there are, right? You don't have to live on the bad side of town. You don't have to take part in bad types of groups or people, right? There's a way out. And so we can, by self-effort, kind of ascend or descend ourselves into different realms of existence. Leon?
So, talk about Asura, Deva, that highest level. What is it about Deva that is an obstacle to them having an opportunity to separate? Is it because they're caught up in that and they identify with their own little generosity and they think it's its own thing? Why would a Deva then not be this optimal for development as a human being?
If you're in a perfect environment, there's no suffering, right? You have everything you want, everything you need, every want and desire, right? There's no desire for wanting anything other than what you already have, right? So if you have everything in the world and you're happy and you're content with what you have, then why practice Dharma? Right? And so they're like, oh, I'm already happy. I already have everything I want. Why do this? Right, exactly, yes. They're relying and just kind of riding that good karma wave. But eventually, just like waves, they go really high, they get really low. So eventually they will come down. So hopefully, if we ever become devas, that we have also the realization that this life of mine, of luxury and fortune and wholesomeness and positivity is transient. It will eventually end. Any question? Any other questions? Okay. If there are no other questions, then we will go to transferring the merit and then go to chanting. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha Namo Shakyamuni Buddha Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. For any positive karmic action we have accumulated here today, we wish to transfer the merit to all sentient beings and wish them full enlightenment. Incense in the censer now is burning, all the Dharma In every place auspicious clouds appearing, our sincere intention thus fulfill. As all Buddhas now show their perfect body, homage to the incense cloud canopy, Bodhisattva and great Bodhisattvas. Gratitude we offer this incense to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout space, and may it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting our wholehearted mindfulness and the fruit of understanding slowly ripen. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetful and realize our true home. Pledge to the eternally abiding Buddhas, the supreme Dharma, and sagely Sangha throughout the Dharma realm and the realm of empty and three periods of time. To the fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha Maitreya, honored future Buddha Manjushri, great wisdom Bodhisattva, universal great conduct Bodhisattva, all Dharma guarding Deva Bodhisattvas, and the glorious mountain assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. To Amitabha Buddha in the land of ultimate Avalokiteshvara, great compassion Bodhisattva, great strength Bodhisattva, earth store great vow Bodhisattva, and the assembly of great pure sea like Bodhisattva. Surpass profound and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Pilgrim, briefly in this world I am grateful and joyful to hear the Lotus Sutra. How hard to be born a human again, but I might hope to hear once more the Lotus Sutra. The Buddha moon is hidden, the son of Maitreya not yet arisen in the long night's darkness indeed. Only the Lotus Sutra sheds its light, the wonderful Dharma of the Lotus Sutra. Whoever copies it, reads it, lives it, they say will be called preacher of the fivefold Dharma with his 6 roots. He who chants the Lotus Sutra is guarded by a heavenly host. He wanders the world without fear like a lion king. Namo Sadat Pundarika Sutra, Namo Sadat Pundarika Sutra, Namo Sadat Pundarika Sutra. Let's go to tab 2. Lotus Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Lotus Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Lotus Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Sutra of the Lotus of the Wonderful Law, Chapter 4, understanding that at the time Mahakashyapa spoke to the assembly and said, "We today have heard the Buddha's voice teaching, and we dance for joy, having gained what we never had before." The Buddha declares that the voice hearers will be able to attain Buddha. This cluster of unsurpassed jewels has come to us unsought. It is like the case of a boy who instilled without understanding abandoned his father and ran away, going far off to drifting from one country to another for over 50 years. His father, distressed in thought for him in every direction, till worn out with searching, he halted in a certain city. There he built a dwelling where could indulge the 5 desires. His house was large and cost with quantities of gold, silver, seashell, agate, pearls, lapis lazuli, elephants, horses, oxen, goats, carts, and carriage, fields for farming, and servants, grooms, and other people in great number. Thousands and thousands, millions surrounded and paid reverence. He enjoyed the constant favor and consideration of the. Such was his vast wealth, a great power and influence he possessed. But as he grew old and decrepit, he recalled his son with greater distress than ever, day and night, thinking of nothing else. Since that foolish boy abandoned me, my storehouse is full of goods. What will At this time the impoverished son was searching for food and clothing, going from village to village, from country to country, sometimes finding something, other times finding nothing, starving and emaciated, his body broken out in sores and ringworm. As he moved from place to he arrived in time at the city where his father lived, shifting from one job to another until he came to his father's house. At the time the rich man had spread a large jeweled canopy on a lion throne, surrounded by his dependents and various attendants and guards. The impoverished son, observing how evident and distinguished his father, suppose he must be the king of a country or the equal of a king. Alarmed and full of wonder, he asked why he had come here secretly. He thought to himself, if I linger here for long, I will perhaps be seized and pressed into serve. Once his thought had occurred to him, he raced from the spot and inquiring where there was a poor village, went there in hopes of gaining employ. The rich man at the time seated on his lion throne saw his son in the distance and silently recognized who he. Immediately he instructed a messenger to hurry after him and bring him back. The impoverished son, crying out in terror, sank to the ground in distress. This man has seen is surely going to put me to death. To think that my search for food and clothing should bring me to this. The rich man knew that his son was there and self-abasing. He will never believe my words, will never believe I am his father. So he employed an expedient means, sending some other to the son, a one-eyed man, another puny and unclothed, completely lacking in imposing appearance, saying, speak to him and tell him I will employ him servant and filth, and will pay him twice the regular wage. When the impoverished son heard this, he was delighted and came with the messengers and worked to clear away servant and filth and clean the rooms of the house. From the window the rich man would constantly observe his son, thinking how his ignorant and self-abasing and delighted in such menial labor. At such times the rich man would put on dirty, ragged clothing, take in hand a utensil for removing servant, and go to where this one was, using this expedient means to approach them, encouraging him to work diligently. I have increased your wages and giving you oil to rub on your feet. I will see that you have plenty to eat and drink, mats and bedding that are thick and warm. At times he would speak severe, you must work hard, or again he would say in a gentle voice, you are like a son to me. The rich, being wise, gradually permitted his son to come and go in the house, and after 20 years had passed, he put him in charge of household up, showing him his gold, silver, pearls, crystal, and the other things that were handed out or gathered in, so that he would understand about them. Though the son continued to live outside the gate, sleeping in a hut of grass, for he looked upon himself as poor, thinking none of these things are mine. The father knew that his son's outlook was gradually more worthy, and wishing to hand over his wealth and goods, he called together his relatives, the king of the country and the high ministers, the noblemen and householders. In the presence of this great assembly he declared This is my son who abandoned me and wandered abroad for a period of 50 years since I found him. 20 years have gone by long ago in such and such a city. When I lost my son, I traveled all around searching for him until eventually I came here. All that I possess, my house and people, I hand over entirely to him, so he may do it as he wishes. The son thought how in the past he had been poor, humble, and self-up. And now look, but now he had received from his father this huge bequest of rare treasures, along with the father's house and all his wealth and goods. He was filled with great joy, had gained what he never had before. The Buddha too is like this. He knows our fondness for the petty, and so he never told you can attain Buddhahood. Instead, he explained to us how we could become free of outflows, carry out the lesser vehicle, and be voice, hearer, decide. The Buddha commanded us to preach the supreme way and explain that those who practice this will be able to attain Buddhahood. Teachings, and for the sake of the great Bodhisattvas made use of causes and conditions, various similes and parables, a variety of words and phrases to preach the unsurpassed way. When the sons of the heard the law through us day and night, they pondered diligently, when with effort practicing it. At the time the Buddha bestowed prophecies on them, saying, in a future existence you will be able to attain Buddhahood. Chapter 5, the parable of the medicinal herbs. At the time the world honored one spoke and said, the Dharma king, destroyer of beings, when he appears in the world with the desires of living beings, preaching the law in a variety of ways, thus come one worthy of honor and reverence, is profound and far-reaching in wisdom. For long he remained silent regarding essential, in no hurry to speak of it at once. If those who are wise hear of it, they can believe and understand it, but those without wisdom will have doubts and regrets, for will remain in error. For this reason Kashyapa he adjusts to the person's power when preaching, taking advantage various causes and enabling the person to gain a correct view. Kashyapa, you should understand that like a great cloud that rises up in the world and covers it all over, the beneficent cloud is laden with moisture. The lightning gleams and flashes, and the sound of thunder reverberates afar, causing the falls everywhere, coming down on all four sides. Its flow and saturation are measureless, reaching to every area of the earth, to the ravines and valleys of the mountains and streams, to secluded places where grow plants, bushes, medicinal herbs, trees large and small, 100 grains, rice, seedling, sugar cane, grapevines. The rain moistens them all, none fails to receive its full. Everywhere watered herbs and trees alike grow lush. What falls from the cloud is water of a single flavor, but the plants and trees, thickets and groves, each accept a moisture that is appropriate to its portion. All the various trees, whether superior, middling, or inferior, take what is fitting for large or small, and each is enabled to sprout and grow roots and limb, leaf, and hue of flower and fruit. One rain extends to them, and all are able to become fresh and glossy, whether their allotment of substance from the nature is large or small. The moistening they receive is one, but each grows and flourishes in its own way. God is like this when he appears in the world, comparable to a great cloud that covers all being. Having appeared in the world for the sake of living beings, he makes distinctions in expounding the truth regarding phenomena. The great sage, the greatest of all beings, pronounce these words, I am the thus come one, most honored of two-legged beings. I appear in the world like a great cloud that showers moisture upon all the dry and withered living beings, so that all able to escape suffering gain the joy of peace and security, the joys of this world and the joy of nirvana. All you heavenly and human beings of this assembly, listen carefully, and with one mind all of you should gather, observe the one of unexcelled honor, in order to bring peace and security to living beings. I have appeared in the world, and for the sake of this great assembly, I preach the sweet dew of the pure law. This law is of a single flame, that of emancipation, nirvana, with a single wonderful sound. I expound and unfold its great the sake of the great vehicle. I create causes and conditions. I look upon all things as being universally equal. I have no mind to favor this or that, to love one or hate another. I am without greed or attachment, and without limitation or hindrance. At all times for all things I preach the law equally, as I would for a single person. That same way I do for numerous persons. Constantly I expound and preach the law. Never have I done anything else, coming, going, sitting, standing, never, and growing weary or disheartened. I bring fullness and satisfaction to the world, like a rain that spreads its moisture everywhere. Imminent and lowly, superior and inferior, observer of precepts, violators of precepts, those fully endowed with proper demeanor, those now fully endowed, those of correct views, of erroneous views, of keen capacity, of dull capacity. I cause the Dharma reign to reign, and all equally, never lax or neglectful. When all the various living beings hear my law, they receive it. Power dwelling in their different environments, when habit the realm of human and heavenly beings, of wheel turning sage king Shakta, Brahma, and the other kings. These are the inferior medicinal herbs. Some understand the law of no outflows, are able to attain nirvana, to acquire the six transcendental powers, and gain in particular the three understand. Live alone in mountain forests, constantly practicing meditation and gaining the enlightenment of Prateka Buddhas. These are the middling herbs. Still others seek the place of the world honored one, convinced that they can become Buddhas, putting forth diligent effort and practicing meditation. These are the superior medicinal herbs. Again, there are sons of the Buddha who devote their mind solely to the Buddha way, constantly practicing mercy and compassion, knowing that they themselves will attain Buddhahood, certain of and never doubting. These I call the small trees, those who abide in peace in their transcendental powers, turning the wheel of non-regression, saving innumerable millions of thousands living beings. Bodhisattvas such as these I call the large trees. The equality of the Buddha's preaching is like a rain of a single flavor, but depending upon the of the living being, the way in which it is received is not uniform, just as the various plants and trees each receive the moisture in a different manner. The Buddha employs this parable as an expedient means to open up and reveal the matter, using various kinds of words and phrases and expounding the single law, but in terms of the Buddha wisdom. One drop of the ocean I rain down, the Dharma rain filling the whole world, and this single flavored Dharma is practiced by each according to the individual's power. Chapter 6, Bestowal of Prophecy. At the time the world honored one, having finished reciting verses, made an announcement to the great assembly, speaking in these words. I announce this to the monks, when I employ the Buddha, I to observe observe Kashyapa, here I see that future existence after innumerable kalpas have passed, he will be able to attain Buddhahood. In future existences, he will offer alms and enter the presence of 3,000 billion Buddhas, world-honored ones, for the sake of the wisdom. He will carry out Brahma practices strictly and will offer alms to the unexcelled ones, the most honored of two-legged beings. After he has done so and has practiced past types of wisdom in his final incarnation, he will be able to become a Buddha. His land will be pure and clean, the ground of lapis lazuli. Many jewel trees will line the roadsides with golden ropes to mark the roads, and those who see rejoice. It will constantly emit a pleasing fragrance with heaps of rare flowers scattered around, and many kinds of strange and wonderful things for its adornment. The land will be level and smooth without hills or depressions. The multitude bodhisattvas will be beyond calculation, their minds subdued and gentle, having attained great powers, and they will uphold and embrace the great vehicle suit. The Buddhas, the multitude of voice hearers, will be free of outflows in their last incarnation, sons of the Dharma king, and their number too will be calculation. Even when one looks with a heavenly eye, one cannot determine their number. This Buddha will have a lifespan of 12 small kalpas. His correct law will endure in the world for 20 small kalpas, and his counterfeit law for 20 small kalpas. Like bright world-honored one will be of his description. At the time the world-honored one continued to speak, saying, "You multitude, I now announce this to you. All of you with a single mind should hear what I say. My major disciple Subhuti is destined to become a Buddha with the title rare form. He will offer alms to countless tens of thousands and millions of Buddhas. Following the practices of the Buddhas, he will gradually fulfill the great way, and in incarnation will acquire the 32 features. In the Buddha's law will be many bodhisattvas, all of them with keen capacities, turning the wheel of non-regression. Will be adorned with bodhisattvas. The multitude of voice hearers will be beyond calculation, all gaining the 3 understandings and exercising the 6 transcendental powers. They will dwell in the 8 emancipations and possess great authority. Virtue, the Buddha will have a lifespan of 12 small kalpas. His count the world for 20 small kalpas, and his counterfeit law for 20 small kalpas. At the time the world-honored one continued to speak, saying, "You multitude of monks, listen, all of you with a single mind, for in what I speak there is nothing that departs from the Katyana. Here will give various kinds of fine and wonderful articles as offerings to the Buddha. The Buddhas have entered extinction. He will raise 7 jewel towers and present flowers and incense as offerings to their relics, and in his final incarnation he will gain Buddha wisdom and achieve impartial and correct enlightenment. His land will be pure and clean, and he will save innumerable tens of millions of living beings, and will receive offerings from all the 10 directions. This Buddha's brilliance no one will be able to equal. It will be Jambu, great light bodhisattvas, and voice hearers, cutting off all forms of existence, countless and immeasurable in number, will adorn his land. At the time the world-honored continued to speak, saying, "This disciple of mine, the great Moggallana, when he has cast off his present body, will be able to see 8,210,000 million Buddhas, world-honored ones, and for the sake of the Buddha way, and reverence them when these Buddhas are constantly carry out Brahma practices, and for immeasurable kalpas will uphold and embrace the Buddha's law. When these Buddhas have passed into extinction, he will raise 7 jewel towers with golden implements to mark the spot for all time, and flowers flowers, incense, and music, did as offerings in the memorial towers of the Buddha. Step by step he will fulfill all the duties of the Bodhisattva way, and in calm mind delight will be able to become a Buddha. Nimtarampatra, sandalwood fragrance, this Buddha's lifespan will be 24 kalpas, constantly for the sake of heavenly and human beings. He will expound the Buddha way, voice hearers innumerable as Kenji stands with the three understand. 6 transcendental powers will display great authority and virtue. Countless bodhisattvas will be of firm will, diligent in effort, and with regard to the Buddha wisdom, none will ever retrogress after this Buddha has passed into extinction. Endured for 20, and his counterfeit law will do likewise. My various disciples fully endowed with dignity and virtue number 500, and everyone will receive such a prophet. Now future existence, all will be able to attain Buddhahood. Chapter 7, the parable of the phantom city. At the time the world-honored one addressed the assembly and said, I will employ an expedient means to lead you the Buddha wisdom. Because of these earlier causes and conditions, I now preach the Lotus Sutra. I will cause you to enter the Buddha way to and harbor no fear. Suppose there was a stretch of steep remote wasteland with many harmful beasts, a place moreover without water or grass, one dreaded by people. A group of countless thousands and 10,000s wanted to pass over this steep road, but the road was very long and far stretching, extending 500 yojanas. Time there was a leader well informed, possessing wisdom of clear understanding and determined mind, capable of saving endangered persons from manifold difficulties. The members of the group were all weary, heartened, and said to their leader, we are now exhausted with fatigue and wish at this point to turn around and go back. The leader thought to himself, these people are truly pitiful. Why do they wish to turn back and miss the many rare treasures? It means deciding to exercise his transcendental powers. He conjured up a great walled city and adorned his mansion, surrounding them with gardens and groves, channels of flowing water, ponds and lakes with double gates and tall towers and pavilions, all filled with men and women. As soon as he had created this illusion, he comforted the group, saying, have no and now enter the city, and each amuse himself as he pleases. When the people had entered the city, they were all overjoyed in heart, all had a feeling of ease and tranquility, telling themselves that been saved. When the leader knew they were rested, he called them together and announced, now you must push forward. This is nothing more than a phantom city. I saw that you were weary and exhausted and wanted to turn back in mid-journey. Therefore I use the power of expedient means to conjure up the moment. Now you must press forward diligently, so that together you may reach the peace where the treasure is. I to do likewise, acting as leader to all beings. I see the seekers of the way growing disheartened in mid-journey, unable to pass over the steep road of birth and death and earthly desires, and therefore I power of expedient means and preach nirvana to provide them with rest, saying your sufferings are extinguished. You have carried out all there is to be done. When I know they have reached nirvana, have attained the stage of Arhat, then I call the great assembly together and preach the true law for them, the Buddhas, through the power of expedient means. Reach the 3 vehicles, but there is only the single Buddha vehicle. The other 2 nirvanas are preached to provide a resting place. Now I expound the truth for you. What attain is not extinction. For the sake of the comprehensive wisdom of the Buddha, you must expend great effort and diligence. If you gain enlightenment in the law of the Buddha with its comprehensive wisdom and 10 powers, and are endowed with the 32 features, and this will be true extinction. The Buddhas in their capacity just preach nirvana by the rest, but when they know you have become rested, they lead you toward the Buddha wisdom. Let's go to tab 9, page 171. Bodhisattva Avalokita while moving in the course of Prajnaparamita shed light on the 5 skandhas and found them equally empty. After this penetration, he overcame ill-beingness and Shariputra. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form, form is other than emptiness, emptiness is not other than form. The same is true with feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither defiled nor immaculate. They're increasing nor decreasing. Therefore, in emptiness there is neither form nor feelings, no perceptions nor mental formations, nor consciousness, no eye or ear or nose or tongue or body or mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object, no realms of elements, no interdependent origins, and no extinction of them, no ill-being, no cause of ill-being, no end of ill-being, and no path, no understanding, no attainment, because there is attainment. The Bodhisattvas grounded in Prajnaparamita find no obstacles for their minds. Having no obstacles, they overcome fear, liberating themselves forever from illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. Buddhas in the past, present, and future arrive at Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore, one should know that perfect understanding is the highest mantra, the unequaled mantra, the destroyer. Double truth, the mantra of Prajnaparamita should therefore be proclaimed. Gate, gate, para, samgate, bodhi, swaha, gate, gate, para, samgate, bodhi, swaha, gate, gate, para, samgate, bodhi, swaha. Jinn beings are limitless. I vow to liberate them. Afflictions are endless. I vow to teachings are infinite. I vow to learn them. Buddhahood is supreme. I vow to attain it. I vow that from now until the end of my life and in all future lives, till I attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, that I will help all existence and their suffering. Namo thus come one worthy of offerings of proper personal knowledge, perfect in understanding and conduct, skillful in leaving the world through liberation, perfect and complete understanding of all worldly dharma, unsurpassed, night-taming hero, teacher. Buddha, the world honored one. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Shittigarbha Bodhisattva, Namo Shittigarbha Bodhisattva, Namo Shittigarbha Bodhisattva, Namo Manjushri Bodhisattva, Namo Manjushri Manjushri Bodhisattva, Namo Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, Namo Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, Namo Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva, Namo Maitreya Sattva, Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva, Namo Great Pure Sea like Bodhisattvas, Namo Great Pure Sea like Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas, Namo Great Pure Sea Sattvas, Namo Deva Guarding Bodhisattvas, Namo Deva Guarding Bodhisattvas, Namo Deva Guarding Bodhisattvas. Take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. In the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transforming. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Refuge in the Buddha, in myself I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love, taking refuge in the Dharma. In myself I aspire to help all people master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation, taking refuge in the Sangha. In myself I aspire to help all people for full communities, to embrace all beings and support their transformation. Citing the sutras, practicing the way of awareness, gives rise to benefits without limits. We vow to share the fruits with all beings. We vow to offer tribute to parents, teachers, friends, and numerous beings who give guidance and support along